Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Become a channel member where you'll get access to all archive videos. Support independent media. Super chats enabled. Super thanks for the replay gang. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder, music, all one word. Spell out the word doctor. And if you'd like to feed me sandwiches, well, all methods apply. Sandwich gang in the building. Don't mess with my sandwich money. I am Dr. Thunder, and this is Two Dads React, and that is my collaboration with Tony from God Rules. We've got some pretty frightening stories to cover today. Pretty frightening stories to cover. Of course, there was in Minneapolis, another one of these, another one of these crazy people running in to shoot up the place. I'll put it that way. This is particularly scary to me because my son goes to a Catholic school. He goes to a Catholic school, and part of the reason that I put him in that school is to protect him from a lot of the goofy stuff, a lot of the crazy stuff that's going on in public schools. Security is part of that, but in addition to that, there's a lot of indoctrination. They are talking to kids in public schools about stuff that, I don't think is appropriate. Stuff that I want to be able to talk to my son about before anyone else does. Stuff that me and my wife want to, talk to him about. But these progressives, they believe that they know better than you do for your own kid. And they believe that their sense of morality, which comes from this sort of social reengineering, and they believe that they have a moral imperative to, do little sneaky, sneaky things behind your back. I mean, this story about the so-called trans closet or whatever in some of these schools, and you're talking about kids that are, fourth graders, third graders, fifth graders like this. And they go in this closet, and they, Johnny goes in the closet, puts a dress on, and then wants you to call him, Jane for the day, and the teacher complies. The other classmates comply, and the parents don't know anything about it. So this is the kind of stuff you want to protect your kid from. And I'd say that boys are in particular at risk in these public schools. Education system has been totally feminized. And, in high school, you're talking about 70% of the valedictorians are female, 93% of valedictorians and class presidents, when you combine that, 93% are female. This is not new statistics. This is stuff that's been happening for a long time. And, but when you bring these things up and you say, hey, this is a concern to me, and so I'm putting my kid in a private school to shield from that, then there's something wrong with you. And of course, what's disheartening about this and scary to me is it sort of brings it home that no matter what you do, you can't truly protect your kids in this kind of open society with all of the crazy stuff that's going on. We could fix this gun control debate. This is so ridiculous. We could fix this security issue practically overnight. Eliminate this gun-free zone garbage. You need armed guards. You need trained teachers, one or two in the school that have been trained, that have volunteered to be trained, that actually have concealed carry. And you need single entry point in the schools, and a metal detector. And I'll tell you right now, this is a federal law. This is a federal law or federal tax that I would gladly pay for them to furnish that for all K through all the way through into high school. All schools, anything that is a school, would get this. That fixes that problem instantly, overnight. But rather than doing stuff that actually fixes these issues, it's a bunch of politics. And it's not even the good kind of politics, if there is such a thing. So anyhow, I'm sorry for starting it off in that kind of tone, but this is a really sad day. I don't care what protected group somebody comes from, or that shouldn't matter on policy that is, and or the willingness for the media to really go after it. But anyhow, I'm a little shocked. Shocked is not right. I'm a little distracted because, again, my kid goes to Catholic school. I just picked him up from football practice. Anyhow. So that's going to be our sort of main event, talking about that, and this Minneapolis mayor that decided that, he wanted to trivialize prayer. And of course, the person that actually did this heinous act is said to be particularly anti-Christian, not just non-Christian, anti-Christian, like wants to see, wants to hurt people that are Christians. Apparently this school is a place where his mother used to work. His or her mother, I'm not sure what their pronouns are, because that doesn't seem like doesn't seem like it's the important thing in this context. There's two kids that are dead. So there's that. We're going to talk about what's going on in the UK. We're also going to talk about what's going on in Chicago. Pretty interesting. So sit tight. We'll be right back with a riveting episode of Two Dads React. Let's go. Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. All
Yeah, you doing,
right,
man?
what's happening, man? I'm sorry to start off with kind of a somber tone, man. It just
Well, yeah,
it's
I
a
mean,
sad
it
story, man.
sucks. Yeah, but there are, I mean, there's so many stories going on right now, but this was like the big one. But it's like kind of weird looking at how uh, stories that get big on X compared to YouTube. Although there is some stories that you can see are big on both, like the Raja Jackson story. You heard about that, right?
No, I haven't. I actually didn't hear
Oh,
about that until you said something earlier today.
so that was something rather tragic as well. Actually, what it was is Quentin Rampage Jackson. He's a UFC fighter. He's like one of my favorite back in the old days. His son apparently is trying to do fighting himself, but he ended up almost taking out a wrestler, like literally, like he slammed him and just hit him like 20 some times, and the guy almost died from what we could tell, but he didn't. The guy's in the hospital, right? And
Mm-hmm.
everyone was talking about that everywhere, even on X. It was even doing well on X. I noticed that, and it's like insane amount of people talking about it over here on YouTube as well. And it's like a story from like 5 days ago at this point, but he might end up going to prison over it. And it's like he was rage baited by his own followers. So like he's on Kick, and it's like a streaming platform, and they're all calling him a wuss. Like his own followers are like, "Oh man, you can't let that wrestler do that to you. You got to get even." So what happened was this wrestler, overweight dude, his name's Psycho Stu. It's just like like WWE, but it's like a regional one. And so what happened was Raja is friends with one of these wrestlers, right? He goes to this event, and then one of the other wrestlers comes up to him and thinks he's a wrestler and takes a can and smacks it over his head.
Yeah.
And this wrestler didn't know that he already had a concussion. So this UFC fighter, Raja Jackson, he has a concussion from like 3 days ago, and he's still puking and stuff. And this wrestler comes up to him and slams him in the head with a can, and he's already pissed from that alone, and he wants to get even. And it's like a really complicated story because his friend is named AJ. He's one of the wrestlers, and AJ hates this other guy named Psycho Stu, the guy that hit him with the can, right?
Great.
So he gets his friend to do his own dirty work for him. He's like, "You can go in the ring and wrestle this Psycho Stu, and you can get even with him. You can punch him. We'll let you punch him." And even the organizer of the wrestling event is like, "Yeah, you can punch him. You can hit him." So then he's like talking, he's like, live streaming the whole time on his Kick, and his followers are like, "Oh yeah, you got to do something. You can't be a wuss." And then his father calls him and says, "Yeah, man, I heard some costume guys were messing with you. Are you, like just calling him a wimp and stuff?" So everyone's calling him a wimp, even his dad. So he's like super rage baited, angry. He goes into the wrestling ring, slams the dude, and just starts wailing on him while he's passed out. And if someone didn't pull him off him, that guy would have probably been dead, straight up. He
Right.
hit him so many times. He lost like most of his teeth. His face is all broken up. His brain is swelling. The guy was barely breathing afterwards, choking on his own blood and stuff. But in the end, it looks like the guy's going to live. And I kind of feel like it shows you what social media is like. Social media can drive you crazy. And I feel like that's the same thing with this guy that went into this Catholic church. That social media drove him crazy and turned him. And he even admits that he was brainwashed to be trans. He even admits it. That's the latest story. So social media can drive you nuts. That's what I'm starting to notice. It can drive you nuts.
Yeah. So it's interesting because there's a lot of hyperbole and there's a lot of sort of hyper focus on certain things that are inflammatory. We know that to be the case. Now, and then there's a difference between stuff that's sort of real stuff, and then there's the stuff that's like skits. You know, um, and the thing I always say about the thing I say about social media, I don't say that social media is fake. I think it is real, but the rules are different. It's not the same as what we regard as quote unquote the real world, but it is real because it's real people, it's real interactions, and what's particularly telling is the comment sections. So even if something is really inflammatory, is over the top, is hyperbolic, or if something is a skit, or if something is, doesn't even seem that there's that much to it, it seems like it's obvious, you know, when you look in the comments section, that kind of gives you an idea of what people that seem to feel like they have some sort of a sense of anonymity, what they actually think about things. So, in a manner of speaking, social media, though it is a bit of a spectacle, but it also is giving you maybe a little more close to what people actually think about stuff, even though they're weighing in on certain things that are sort of spectacle and hyperbolic. So it's a
Yeah.
yeah, but if you don't know that, if you don't have that worked out, and you're taking things, if you don't understand the rules, if you don't understand how it's different, then yeah, certainly, it can and will drive you crazy.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are going nuts over. I feel like everything went crazy ever since social media started getting big. And it's
Yeah,
because a lot of people take things way too seriously on social media. The fact is, at this promotion, the owner of this regional WWE type of wrestling thing, he literally let the guy go on there because he knew he was a son of a famous guy, right? And he's like, okay, I'll let you beat him up in real beat up, not like fake. And he even told him, give it to him. The promoter did. And what was so weird is like when the guy's beating on him and he's almost about ready to die, none of his friends jumped out there to help him. None of the Psycho Stew's friends jumped in to help him. It had to be a guy who wasn't even his friend jumped in there and helped him out. And so it just shows you how fake people can be, how it's all about money sometimes with some people, and how social media can put like the cart before the horse. Like you put your friendships last, you put your clout first. It's just this really backwards world. And maybe this is what happened with this guy. He got into this whole trans thing and with this Catholic church. And it's so bizarre reading his writings too, by the way. They're like really weird. He's like saying he loves his family and I'm apologizing for what I'm gonna do. And he's like trying to give advice to his family and like it's just so bizarre. The guy was not all there. And they just let this happen because trans is okay. So if somebody, as long as they're that, they can say anything they want and it's okay. You see what I mean? Like when you got these
yeah,
protected groups, you say whatever you want, and people are like, well, they're not crazy. They're just this. They're a little different. They're a little whatever. And there's no responsibility for that person. Then they can just get away with whatever the hell they want. They could say whatever they want. And then next thing you know, they're doing stuff like going into a church.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So I think that there's a lot of problems. I mean, there's a lot of problems with the way that we even talk about or are allowed to talk about certain kinds of issues. In this situation, you have people that are unwilling to even address certain patterns. Of course, they'll address the patterns when they seem to underline a particular narrative that they want to put forward, but they won't acknowledge the pattern if it presents a problem for their particular worldview.
Yeah, that's true.
In this situation, you have a lot of folks that um, they put a lot of they spend a lot of political capital putting
Oh, yeah.
forth a particular agenda, and so it's hard for them to maybe be totally honest and transparent. Transparent might not be the right word, but it's hard for them to be forthright. Let's put it that way, about all of the details and about certain kinds of connections, Um, Perhaps some of the things that have been said that you didn't want to acknowledge, actually, maybe some of that stuff, there's some validity to it. I'm not here to claim that um, I have all the answers, or that conservatives have all the answers, or that um, you know liberals, or whoever it is. I'm not here to say that any particular group has all the answers, but you're not going to get any closer to any answers if you can't even have the conversation.
That's true. And I feel like some people are taking advantage of the situation, like this mayor of Minneapolis saying, don't just say thoughts and prayers right now.
Yeah.
And then, like, he's like literally to someone who was praying when this happened, saying to everyone, don't say thoughts and prayers. It actually made me mad, dude. It literally made me mad. I usually
Yeah.
don't get mad at this stuff because I know they're just trying to do their political garbage, but he went to like 10 different places and did this. It's like it was all planned out. It's so disgusting, It's really
So
but you got something here.
yeah,
It
let's
just
let's.
disgusts me, man.
I'm gonna play this. Let's see what we got. Here we go.
So a trans-identifying gunman walks into a Catholic school in Minneapolis, opens fire during a morning mass, murders 2 little kids, 8 and 10 years old, before injuring 17 others and then offing himself. And get this, the shooter was born Robert before calling himself Robin, posting disturbing videos just hours before the attack, showing notebooks filled with hate against Jews, against Christians, and even fantasizing about assassinating Trump. Mind you, a lot of people on the left fantasize about that. You don't have to look any further than the comment section of a lot of my videos, all while waving around a transgender defend equality sticker. This guy literally wrote in his journal that killing children would bring him the most joy. He barricaded doors so kids couldn't escape. He had rifles, shotguns, pistols. I mean, he had the works. And here's what the media won't want to talk about. This is the second trans-identifying shooter to target kids in just a couple of years. Y'all remember Nashville? Same exact pattern. Meanwhile, the FBI is already calling this domestic terrorism, but don't hold your breath waiting for the legacy media to have an honest conversation about the role ideology here that plays out. They'd rather bury it than admit the truth. 2 Catholic kids are dead, families are destroyed, and yet again, we are supposed to look the other way. Tell me, when does the safety of children finally come before political correctness? Let me know in the comment section.
Exactly.
Appreciate you.
And and now granted, some aspects of his take are a bit hyperbolic, but I also I tend to agree with him.
Well, I mean, they were trying to blame COVID even. I'm like, seriously, bro? Like they're on the news like, oh yeah, maybe COVID had some aspect to this whole thing. Why don't you just admit what it was? Why don't you just admit the guy clearly hated certain groups of people? He's part of your protected class, so you don't want to point that out.
Well, let's listen. So the protected thing, I think it clouds people's judgment.
Yeah.
With respect to, can that protected group, can they do any wrong? Can they themselves be racist? Can they themselves be biased towards another group? Can they themselves be perpetrators? Humanity humanity is very complicated. It's very complicated. And so you can have a situation where someone that has been victimized can also be a perpetrator. And so that's hard for people to square that and to recognize that that's the case. So
a lot of people think with their feelings too, though. They think with their feelings, so they don't want to admit. And this is very common with humanity. Like when you got a paradigm and you find a couple facts or a couple ideas that don't fit your paradigm, you're like, just sweep them under the rug. I already got my paradigm. I know I'm right. Just sweep it under the rug. We don't know what's going on there. Whatever. That's what it is. That's what it is. People don't like the truth. They say they love the truth, but in the end, a lot of people just can't. They only like the truth when it fits to their situation or what they want. And then if it doesn't fit, then they just kind of ignore it, basically.
Yeah. Here, check this out.
How many of those shooters have been trans? Because I can't think of any others.
There actually are a lot. There's actually 8, I thought, or 7 of them, I thought. But yeah, there's a lot.
But
It's all the research.
yeah, the point of this, of course, was to say, I mean, I'm making the same point. You have, you have a particular dog in the fight. You have a team. The whole tribalism thing. So nothing that your team does is wrong, right? Everything they do is right. They're always right because this is my team, and I'm always going to point out what you do, but I'm never going to say anything about my team. I'm not even going to acknowledge it, right? And if anybody says anything that even sounds like it is counter my team, then I'm disowning them. I'm cutting them off. I'm blocking them on social media. I'm unfriending them on social media, and I'm in my personal life, I'm disowning them. This is what this is. You know, and that's the problem. You should be able to talk about stuff, even if it's difficult stuff. And look, you should also be willing to be wrong. Look, hey, I'm wrong all the time.
I feel like we had a good structure. You and I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to say that like you and I were kind of like looking at things more like from a truth and arbitrary standpoint. And like, you have to be willing to admit you could be wrong about something. You have to be willing to admit that you could be missing something. And I think if more people could do that, because a lot of people, I think like, especially on X, you get this vitriol reaction to stuff. And sometimes it's based in facts and truth, but sometimes it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just happens.
This is a little bit of Jesse Waters. You're not going to be able to see the whole thing, but you'll see enough of it. He's talking, so that's what we want.
He is bad at pattern recognition. We aren't. Just 2 years ago, another trans 20-something walked into a Christian school in Nashville with a rifle and shot 3 kids and 3 adults. They buried the manifesto and locked down the case.
So I'm going to say this, and this is something. And look, folks don't have to agree with me, but why does there seem to be such a target on Christianity's back? Why I want to know. I want to know how come LGBT, how come there seems to be in intersectional feminists just as much as they can rail hard against Christianity. And wow, I want to know if I want to know what the deal is with that, because you don't see them railing hard against Islam. You don't see them to the same extent. You don't see them railing against, Jews. You don't see that, but there seems to be something that they fear about Christianity, maybe because it's considered a perfect expression of the patriarchy, the most clear, maybe because I don't know, maybe because they feel like that they're being judged or something by those people or by that religion, or maybe they're it just seems, it's like uncanny that there just seems to be disproportionate heat, like disproportionate ire, disproportionate content, disproportionate perspective that are anti-Christian in particular. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I'm thinking, I was just looking at a quote. I was thinking when reality hits you in the face. And like, I was thinking about this whole thing that happened in the UK as well, where a week ago, there was this funny, well, it's funny to you and I, there was this thing where these female cops went out into a nice neighborhood and they would do jogging. They would jog around the nice neighborhood to see if any men would catcall them. And if they would catcall them, then they would bring the police out and warn them, even though it wasn't a crime, warn them that this is bad to catcall women. And that was their way of solving the men being bad in society. But then, like a week later, there's this other story that came out in a different neighborhood, not nice neighborhood, where a girl who is 12 and 14, and if you can show a picture of what I have on the screen,
Oh,
this is
sure.
actually the meme
Sorry.
now. Yeah, it's not the actual picture, but they've made a meme of her now, where she's literally carrying these two things around because migrants, are trying to come after her. I mean, she's like 12 and 14. They're like literally like carrying these around because they're concerned about what's going on around them. Why don't those women cop go in those areas? I don't think they want to go in those areas, do they? And it reminded me, I just talked about it in my video. It reminded me when I did this mission trip to Camden, Philadelphia, where it's a pretty rough neighborhood. And I remember watching something happen out in the street. It looked like Street Fighter, or like you remember Streets of Rage when we used to play that. It looked like that. Okay. It was like, some dudes, some pimps and stuff, you know what I mean? Like it was that kind of thing. And it took the cops an hour to show up, and they didn't even get out of the car. They just drove there, did a little turnaround and left. It took them an hour to show up. But if you go to like a nice neighborhood, the cops will probably show up really quickly. They don't want to come to the bad neighborhood. It's you don't want to go to the bad neighborhood, especially if something really bad could happen to you. So these girls are concerned about these people coming into their country, literally have to carry these around to protect themselves. And the cops are literally ignoring this. In the UK, it's like the same thing. It's like reality hits you in the face, but they're still denying it. And we're starting to see some of that here as well. Like it's in a different way though. It's the whole trans thing apparently, but it's the same idea. It's like you just want to deny what's going on.
Yeah. So, Dave Chappelle said something. I like Dave Chappelle quite a bit. He seems to be impervious to being canceled because he says a lot of stuff, and he said quite a few jokes that have been at the expense of LGBT or trans or whatever. Now, look, everybody is fair game to him, so he tells jokes about everybody, right? And that's what jokes should be, right? If you're going to tell a joke about anybody, you should be able to tell a joke about anybody. That's what that is. And one question that he asked, and this is an interesting question. He said, "Can a gay person be racist?" Now understand
it's a trick question.
We'll understand the point here. The point he's making is very clever. The point he's making is, yes, they're a protected group, but even a protected group can do wrong. They can still they can still do wrong. And I think that we have a real blind spot towards LGBT in particular with respect to they're still human beings and they still have a tendency to do wrong, just like everybody else does. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, right? There's none perfect, so we all are going to express aspects and often negative aspects of what it is to be human. And so that's a problem. People having that blind spot there, not being able to see that, hey, they're humans too. That means that they can do wrong also.
Right. And what was I going to say? I was going to say something important, but I already forgot what it was. Yeah, obviously they're human. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that I think there's also this thing where the society or the devil sets up paradigms you need to go in. Like you got Coke or Pepsi, that's it, nothing else. You get to choose one of these two options and there's no other one. And if you try to figure out your own option, I'm going to try to stop you in some way. So what I mean by that is, like, for the trans community, the devil's got it all set up for them. Like, okay, you got to be all in these pride, of course, parades. You got to love all the stuff they talk about. This is what you need to be. If you happen to be someone that's a little bit different and you don't happen to like the opposite sex, you must do this. And, this was a class of people in the ancient times, but they didn't they didn't have the same thing going on. What I mean is, like, they were called eunuchs back then, and they had way different, probably sort of different paradigm, mindset, whatever you want to call it, than today. And so they had it's not like these people never existed, is what I'm saying. They existed, but they didn't live, they weren't put into this indoctrination, live this way sort of lifestyle. And it's like they want to put you in a box. They want you to be, if you're white, you got to go in this box. If you're black, you got to go in this box. If you're gay, you got to go in this box. And they want you to think a certain way, Republican, Democrat. And it's all about, you got to be part of the paradigm. And if you're not part of the paradigm, then you're a problem. Because the paradigms are set to be against each other, and you're fighting over this, but then you're always missing maybe certain aspects of what you're wrong about on whatever paradigm you're in. And in that way, the devil's kind of got the whole system set up, and you have to fall into these boxes, right? This is kind of how I see it. And I think that, I think in a sense, the trans people are going to be put into this box of, right now, people are starting to turn against it. You see what I mean? This lifestyle. But it's not the people that are the problem. It's the freaking paradigm and the lifestyle that's the problem.
So
that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. And I say, I've said this frequently, pushing this agenda and also pushing it younger and younger, you know, and villainizing parents because, they won't allow their kid to transition when they're 12 years old and stuff like this. A lot of the stuff that's going on is, it's not because they actually care about LGBT. That isn't the play. The folks that are pushing this stuff, they care little about LGBT. They care little about them, like they care little about everybody, right?
It's like a pawn to them.
It's all a power game. It's all a push whatever you can push that seems to serve your underlying agenda, and their underlying agenda is population control. And that,
depending on the person,
LGBT doesn't reproduce. That's the whole thing.
That's the overall arching thing. But I mean, people in the group itself, they got their own agenda. It's probably not that. They don't even think about that.
Right.
But you're talking about the guys at the top.
I'm talking about guys at the top. Now look.
Yeah.
Folks that are boots on the ground, and you have some true believers and everything, and they're sincere, and they're actually fighting for what it is that they're saying. And look, to the extent that we discriminate against folks based on those kinds of choices that they're making, I think that's wrong. They pay taxes. They should be able to do what they want to do and not be discriminated against, just like anybody. So I don't have an issue with that. But this idea that I think that the powers that be are doing this for some sort of altruistic, it's the human rights purpose. It's the do the right thing, love your fellow man, kind of reason. No, it's not that at all. It ain't that.
I agree with you 100%. This mayor is a perfect example of that, because it's like right out the bat, right out the gate, he's just, every single one, he's got the same speech everywhere, and he's going everywhere saying it. It's like he's just using them. He's using that community to push whatever political, and that's what is so bad to me, is social media's kind of made it to where it's like the agenda or the paradigm is more important than the person. That's what it seems to be everywhere. It's all about where you can make the money, where you can get what you want, where things can go. It's just like with the whole Raja Jackson story. The promoter thought it would be a great idea to throw him in there and have him really hit a wrestler even when it was fake wrestling. And I'm like, it was all about money. It was all about views. It's all about clicks. It's like, what the hell? Can we just be real people? You know what I mean? Like, can we just be real?
Yeah.
And not fake.
Let me play the rest of this video. And then I've got a bunch of stuff here. Oh, oops. Here we go.
We've seen trans shootings in Colorado and in Maryland. They even shot up an ICE facility in Texas. And it seems like half of Antifa's trans. A couple of they-thems just got popped for firebombing Teslas. The mayor of Minneapolis says, you can't say that.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
No, you have.
We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
I don't hate anyone who thinks they're trans. I feel sorry for them. But statistically, the trans population has been prone to violence. That's not villainizing, that's reality. And if you can't recognize reality, you're in danger. We love the American people, especially American children. And if they're troubled and believe they're somehow a girl trapped in a boy's body, we want to get them help. We don't want to give them hormones and operate on them. Society shouldn't be trying to produce more trans kids. We shouldn't be encouraging an emotional disorder or whatever this is. And doctors should stop profiting from it. Great.
You know what I noticed was what's going on in America is just like the UK in just a different way. In the UK, it's all these Muslims and other immigrants coming into the country, and you can't talk back, you can't say anything negative about it. And in here, it's the trans instead, so you can't say anything negative about that topic. So it's like they use this as sort of it's like some sort of strategy for getting things done in society. And you can see it's not something good. It's not something out of love. It's something nefarious, but they're pretending like they're trying to, oh, we got to be loving and whatever. How about you be loving by not criticizing people praying, for example, that mayor? It's just ridiculous. It's like the victims are no longer the victims. Now the perpetrator's the victim, and and it's vice versa. You know what I mean? Like that kid in the UK is now the one that got arrested, by the way. That 12 and 14-year-old got arrested. Did you know that? The dude trying to come after him didn't get arrested. The kid got arrested because she's carrying these around to protect herself.
Yeah.
So the perpetrator's protected, and the victim is now the bad guy. Church is bad. Prayer is bad. Why are you praying? Maybe if you wouldn't pray, maybe if you weren't praying, then this wouldn't have happened. You know, it's like the kind of argument. Like, you put your face in the way of his fist. He hit you. It wasn't his fault. You put your face in the way of his fist. It's like some weird backwards logic, you know? What the hell is this crap, dude?
So apparently, Robin or Robert, whoever, whatever name they want.
He admits that he was brainwashed. That's the latest story. So maybe he'll go by Robert now. I don't know.
Yeah, but apparently Robin has put all of these videos out, saying some really pretty disturbing kinds of things. I don't know how disturbing this particular one is, but here's an example of video that happened prior to this, going into this Catholic school and shooting a bunch of kids.
Hey y'all, today I'm going to be reading the Amana electric dryer user manual.
Oh my goodness.
Dryer safety. Your safety and the safety of others are very important. We have provided many important safety messages in this manual and on your appliance. Always read and obey all safety messages.
What the hell? Probably pretty bored reading what was that? A dryer manual?
Yeah, Amana dryer manual there. Okay, so let's do this. This is apparently this is on MSNBC. I think this is he's trying to clean it up. Let's see.
Math together and play outside at recess and laugh and mess around and maybe even get in a little bit of trouble at the cafeteria. This is not what anybody should expect or deal with in the first week of school. And
yeah, and that's Just think about that. First week of school. First week of school, man. Goodness.
Of course, thoughts and prayers. Fine, great. Yeah, I believe in prayer. These kids were literally praying, though. And so we
see that?
to do a whole hell of a lot more than that right now. Words are not enough. I mean, how many times have you talked to mayors and probably politicians from around the country who have talked about an unspeakable tragic event and this kind of thing should never happen again? I've probably said it myself today. That's not good enough. It can't happen again. We got to act so that it won't happen again. And
okay, well, in my monologue, I detailed a way for this never to happen again. This is very simple. What it is that I suggested. Anybody with two brain cells to rub together could have came up with what it is that I said. That would change. That would almost instantly. That would change the dynamic. I mean, you wouldn't see this anymore because the thing is these folks, they go into so-called soft targets because they know that, and these gun-free zones because they know that nobody's going to shoot back.
Well, his solution's a little different. His solution's a little different than yours. His is just get rid of guns. So,
well, I know that. I know that, but yeah, I know why he's saying that. But the problem with his look, the problem with his solution is that we're in a country where there's something like 400 million guns. So good luck rounding up those guns.
Well, they want to do it, and that's what they did in the UK. And that's why that girl is carrying around these now instead, because they don't have them there.
Well, she's 14. She wouldn't have a gun anyway. But
well, she couldn't get. No, you can't get them in the UK. They don't have any anymore. It's just like Australia, because they got rid of them there, and that's what they want to do here. Because once they get rid of them, then they can fully control the society better, and that's why they passed the Online Safety Act in the UK. So now you can't even criticize anything they do. If they bring in some people from another country that take over your entire, apparently they got 40% Muslim in certain areas now.
Look, they're
literally praying in the middle of the road, praying in the middle of a freeway, stopping traffic.
So here's the problem. In the United States, where you have 400 million guns, we're different than the UK in that in our Constitution, it's a basic right for us to own guns. And
exactly.
Also, the way that the country is constructed, in the amount of areas in the country where you don't know what's there really, because there's, I'm just saying, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that any kind of, getting rid of the guns, whatever is going to happen. That's never going to happen. It never. And
they've been trying.
The real issue.
They've been trying for. I was on here 10 years ago doing videos about this. Every single time this happened, they come out and say the same thing. They've been doing this for literally a decade. Here, I've covered it like multiple times. Yeah,
and they've been doing it longer than a decade. But if they just keep doing it, the thing is they start talking about so-called assault weapons. And of course, that's the wrong term, because assault weapon would be an automatic weapon, and automatic weapons are illegal. An AR-15 is not an automatic weapon. That's a semi-automatic weapon. Okay,
right.
And so they've sort of demonized stuff that shouldn't be demonized. And then the other thing is, what's actually causing most of the gun violence is handguns. So, and then of course they never talk about handguns in their entire conversation. So all of this is hogwash. It's just political theater. It's just getting on here to use this as another opportunity to push your gun control agenda, which is never going to work. Well,
I'm kind of guessing that the only people that are going to give them up are the people that like to follow the law and are obedient, and the criminals are not going to follow it at all. They're going to keep all the ones they got. You know what I mean? Like, it's super obvious. Bro, obviously.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Shucks, I got to give up my gun now. I'm a gangster and I can't, they're not Dudley Do-Right, man. They don't care. They're going to freaking use guns. You think the Italian mafia cares about some stupid laws? Of course they don't give a they don't care.
I'll say
Doesn't
I'll
matter
say
who,
one,
any criminal.
I'll say one more time what it is that would actually work. Okay, and we both said
You're saying
you said
the teachers are packing, right? Is that what you're saying?
what? Well, that would be part of it.
Or
But
security guards.
well, let me say the whole thing so it makes sense. But we both said that we would pay for this as far as
Yeah.
a line item tax. Look, I would pay. Give me some
Yeah.
kind of flat amount. Every person pays $250 or something, whatever it is. They're checking. That's more than enough money with all the taxes that are collected to be able to outfit all of these schools to with this.
Well,
So here are the things. Single point
I don't
of
think we
entry.
need any new taxes. They can just fix some, but go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, but I'm saying I would pay
Yeah, I
the
know what you mean.
tax.
Yeah.
I'm a lower tax. I would prefer them to lower taxes. Get
Stop
rid of a
giving money
bunch
to
of
Bill
taxes.
Gates and give it to this instead, is what you're saying, basically. But yeah.
Well, I would keep the same taxes and add to it, and I'd be okay.
Yeah,
with that.
you're willing to pay more. Yeah. I get
Okay,
you're
that's
saying.
what I'm saying because this is
Yeah.
that important of an issue. But number one, single point of entry. Number two, metal detectors at the door. Number three, armed guard. Number four would be a couple teachers that have volunteered to go through training that will be concealed carry.
Yeah.
Okay. Look,
Yeah.
if you have that and then you eliminate gun-free zone, it's no longer a gun-free zone. That's the end of that because they'll be terrified. People will go in there and they'll know that they're going to shoot back. They're going to say, "Hey, I'm not going there anymore."
You go to the Philippines. My wife's from the Philippines. You go into a bank and there's two security guards standing there with guns. I mean, straight up everywhere you go, and it could be a small bank. It don't matter how big it is.
Right.
They're packing everywhere, and yeah, no one's going to screw around. No one's going to go in there when he's got a shotgun. Okay, it ain't happening. Shotguns are pretty good, and you don't have to be very accurate. I mean, you're just going to point in the right direction, and you got it. I mean, it's pretty easy. And you don't want to get hit by one of those. You got all the stuff hitting you, and you won't like it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like in America, like where I'm at in Indiana, they have like the metal detectors. They have like the extra layer of locks and stuff, but they don't got the security guards. You know what I mean? Like, where's the security guards? At least you don't see them. They might have somebody on. You go to and by the way, the Kroger where I live. Right before I went to the Philippines last time, the day I was going to leave, someone went in there, was high, and went in and live streamed trying to take someone out in the Kroger I go to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was crazy. And now they got security at that Kroger. Now they got a cop there all the time after that happened.
Yep.
Okay. They got at least two cops there all the time. They got security guys and cops there all the time. So, because they don't want it to happen again. Right? We should be doing that. These schools, these churches, they need security. I mean, they do it in other countries.
Yeah. So folks in the chat, because people are responding to me talking about a tax for this, understand that my point is I don't want to pay any new taxes. I want to pay lower taxes. That's of course I want to do that. But what I'm saying is, if you actually want to solve this issue, you know that they don't have any problem raising taxes or collecting more money just for whatever reason they want to. So what I'm saying is, okay, if you're going to try to tell me that we can't afford this measure or blah, 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 I don't care what you have to say. I have a son, he's 12. I want to see him protected. I would pay the money. That's what
you're taking the excuse off the table. You're saying you have no excuse.
Right.
You can even raise. I don't want you to raise my taxes, but I'm willing to suck it up just so you protect my kids. But right. You're taking the excuse off the table. They can't give that excuse anymore. But we know actually, technically, that a lot of these people don't want to do it anyways because they got an agenda. That's why he's talking the way he is. That's why he's got the same script, and he goes to 10 different places, says, no more thoughts and prayers. We need to do something. It's because he's got a script.
Look,
it's all
I
about
just told you
to him.
no, check it out.
And he's probably got money from George Soros And by the way, our
Look,
president's looking into that guy right now.
let me tell you, I might give the guy a pass. I might give him a pass on saying that
Oh my God.
if he came back by saying the plan that I just gave you. If
he's
he
not gonna
detailed
do
a
that,
list
though.
like that, then I'd say, you know what? You probably shouldn't belittle prayer like that, but amen, brother. You know,
we already know he's not doing that though. Because
I know he's not doing that, but
he's saying that you can buy a gun like an Apple, and it's like illegal and banned in shops in his city, and he's just flat out saying lies. He's just straight up saying lies.
Yeah.
These people are funded by bad people, and they just say whatever they're told to say. You know, they're like, it's disgusting.
Okay, so speaking of a place that needs some armed guards,
Chicago.
This is a story about Chicago. See what we got here.
National Guard has to come here. Even if it's for a scare attack, they have to come here. There's no control. There's no law and order.
Oh, they're is that the governor? I don't like the guy.
Yeah, here. Let me play this. Yeah, let me play. I got this one here. Let's see here.
Yeah, he's going to go into a lot of
Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now.
Uh-oh. They're trying to say it's not a killing field.
Well, it's a good place.
Oh, that's right. It looks great. Okay. There's too much music in this clip.
Yeah, you might
Pull
get
my
some
stuff down
copyright on that, dude.
So wait a minute.
Well, of course, there's good places in Chicago. You can find a good place anywhere. You know, like you can go to any city. Even LA, you can find a couple good places, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But then you're going to avoid all the bad ones.
All right, so Illinois governor says there's no emergency in Chicago to warrant Trump's National Guard threat. Let's see what this is about. So he's saying that it's more like that last clip that I just played.
Yeah,
that's what Chicago is. So.
Are federal troops coming here to Chicago? President Trump is certainly signaling it's the next American city on his list.
Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster. I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field.
And leaders here in Chicago are pushing back.
Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
The governor of Illinois spending the day walking through the city, trying to make the point there is no emergency that would justify the use of the National Guard here in Chicago.
They do tremendous work, but we don't call them in unless there is truly an emergency. And there is not one. It's one of the reasons that we're standing right here is you can see that this city is actually operating extraordinarily well and in a much better position from a crime perspective than it was 4 years ago.
While city leaders say, hey, there's more work to do, shootings, robberies, and murders are all down more than 30% when compared to last year.
Governor, this is
they're cooking the books.
Yeah,
they keep finding out they're cooking the books on these crime stats. Even Biden did that. He was like exempting certain police stations and cities from his numbers so that he can make it look better. They do a lot of cooking the books. And I mean, it reminds me of those female cops running in the good neighborhood. Oh, look, it's not bad. You know, it's okay here. You don't go to the bad neighborhoods, do you? Of course you don't.
All right, let me play the rest here.
You're floating right now in front of Trump Tower. Is there anything you can do to stop him from federalizing the National Guard here?
Look, we're going to take them to court. We're going to make sure that they know, that the court knows and understands that there is no cause for this, that there is no emergency, there is no law in the books that allows him to put federalized troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. That's what we're going to do to begin with.
The one thing that is almost certain, this will end up before a judge.
Okay.
He's mentioned a number of cities: Baltimore, Chicago, New York City. I think he's going to try to get into all of them. That's the whole Raja.
Yeah. So here's the smack, I think, or the crushing the can on the head.
Psycho Stu.
What, you don't know me?
Hell no. Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a little.
Oh, you don't. A lot of people don't know.
He's not a fucking worker, bro.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
You're good.
What the fuck was that?
You don't sell it? Dude, he's not a fucking worker, bro.
The entire
hold on. I don't play that shit. Nah, I will fuck him up, bro.
I know you will. We're good.
I will fuck him up, bro. I don't play that shit.
The entire reason he went there was because he couldn't fight because he was already dizzy and throwing up because he had a concussion on his head. And then he gets hit in the head with a can. Now, of course, that might not have hurt that bad. I don't know. He already had a concussion, though, for 3 days. So he was already screwed up. But then he got rage baited by everybody. And that's what led to the whole situation where he beat the heck out of that guy.
Okay, so I did want to say one other thing. I think I had a list of 5 things. The 6th thing, which might be number 1, is we have to stop saying the names of and showing the images of these cowards that go into these locations, these soft targets, and shoot them up. Because a lot of people are doing this because they didn't find anything that they could be famous for the right way or be noticed for. And so they figure that they can do this because now people will know who they are. And so there's a lot of them that they have some sort of sick fascination with infamy. And so they do this so that people will always know who they are, from forever and ever. But if the news organizations, if papers, social media and stuff like that refused to print the names of or show images of the people, of the people that are doing this, I think that would also serve as that would also make it seem like less glamorous or something. I know that's a terrible word to use in this context, but that's part of it.
I agree. I mean, that's a factor for sure.
Let's play this here.
When you talk about compassion, I don't want to tiptoe around the edge of this, but the shooter's name was in question, the gender of the shooter. No one's really sure what's going on there. 5 years ago was Robert, then a name changed to Robin. Okay. This is being seized in all corners, as you can imagine, in all sorts of ways. And you know that, Mayor, and perhaps that's why when you spoke about this so profoundly and powerfully as you are even here now, but when you spoke about this today publicly, you voiced concern for the transgender community.
See, I mean, this is, look, are you a reporter? Are you a reporter here to ask questions? Or are you here to basically tuck the guy in at night when he goes to sleep and, what the heck, okay.
Who's the victim here? Apparently the transgender is the victim here. I mean, you know what I mean? They completely ignore the entire story and then you full circle it around. Oh, it's really about the transgenders.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. And she should,
the heck?
See, this
what
is
about
CNN.
What about the
CNN
Catholics that are gone now? These 2 kids are gone. What about them?
Yeah.
Oh, they don't matter. It's about the transgender. Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, let's get the rest of this.
Community overall. And obviously, you chose to do that in that moment because you thought it was important. And I wanted to give you a chance to say why you felt it was important to do that in that moment.
Obviously, I've heard about the rhetoric and the narrative that is being pushed out, but here's the thing. Anybody that is going to use this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any community has lost touch with a common humanity. We got to be operating not out of hate for any group, but out of a love for our children. That's where the focus needs to be right now. A love for our kids. Seeing these kids, not just as somebody else's kids, this horrific thing happened, but what if it was our own?
I don't know how it's a strange pivot.
All you got to do is flip it, man. What if it was a Catholic going into a trans center and this happened? Do you think they would be doing this? It's not. We got to stop focusing on the Catholics. It's not the Catholics that are doing bad things here. They're a good community. You think they would ever say that? Of course, they freaking would never say that.
No.
This is all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm
not surprised. I'm not surprised it was a Catholic. It'll be that.
It would be all over the news and how the Catholic Church needs to apologize and repent of all their evils, and it would be everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it'd be, and it would be like we would hear about it for like months.
Yeah, they'd be bringing back bringing back up the Crusades and stuff. Here,
Yes, of course. They would bring up the Crusades and be like, "You guys are horrible people. You need to change." You know, like
right.
Of course, that's what they would do.
How would we feel then? So, look, we need to be standing up for every community out there, a Catholic community
Yeah, I'd
too,
like to see you stand
by the
up for
way.
the Christian community.
I mean,
dude.
Any
You're not
community
gonna stand up
that
for it.
suffers this kind of blow, our Minneapolis community, you got to stand up for them.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
dude. You gonna stand up for Catholics? I highly doubt it. I doubt you're gonna stand up for anybody like that.
Yeah.
He's telling the victims' parents to stop thinking about this, that there's a trans. You stop thinking about it, dude. That's not the real problem here.
All right. This is too long. I don't want to listen to this guy talk for 3.5
What
minutes.
did he say for change? Did he say change?
Yeah.
Oh, culture change. Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, he just keeps repeating himself anyways. He just repeats himself.
This is like the original statement, but I don't want to listen to the whole statement.
He just keeps saying, "Stop saying thoughts and prayers," and you got to do something. We got to do something. That's what he keeps
Okay,
doing.
now this right here, this is really scary because this looks kind of similar.
Oh, I should tell you
in some
something
respects
weird.
to the school, to the church my son's school is affiliated with, and
Oh, really?
So check
more.
So check this out.
Where are they? Where's the shooter? No one knows. Oh my gosh.
First week of school.
There was one a month ago. Another one a month ago at a church.
Oh my gosh.
That's just terrible.
Yeah, you know what it made me think about? In the UK right now, they're making their public schools go to the mosque and put on the Muslim garb and make them participate in the religion when they're not even Muslim. And then you got like also in the UK, Muslims going into church courtyards and doing their prayers in a church that's like now abandoned because apparently the church has gotten so bad. The Anglican church in the UK has gotten so bad that there's like hardly anybody going anymore because they pretty much approve of everything and anything that's bad at this point. They've went downhill so badly. You know what I mean? So that,
right.
I mean, that's what they would want here in America is the same thing. You can't say what you want to say. You're not going to own one of these things anymore. And, you must accept other religions and have them in your church, you know, and you know what I mean? Like you can't let this insanity go. It's just insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
And
got
of course
someone
there's a
here.
difference. And of course there's a difference between, being, tolerant and understanding that you have to coexist. You can't be, you have to allow people to have their beliefs. That they have their practices and stuff like that, but then they have to be respectful of your practices and your beliefs.
Exactly.
And of course, that doesn't seem to be what happens.
That's not what's happening. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Let's here. Check this out.
The mayor of London is a Muslim. The mayor of Birmingham is a Muslim. The mayor of Oxford is a Muslim. The mayor of Tower Hamlets is a Muslim. The mayor of Newham is a Muslim. The mayor of Sheffield is a Muslim. The mayor of Rochdale is a Muslim. All of this was achieved by only 4 million Muslims out of the 68 million people in United Kingdom. Today, in England, there are over 2,000 mosques. There are over 100 Sharia courts in England, and there are more than 50 Sharia councils. 70% of Muslim women do not work and receive state support and free accommodation. 63% of Muslims do not work and receive state support and free housing. Every school in the UK is required to teach about Islam. The #1 most common baby name in England is Mohammed. This is not immigration, this is invasion. Islam is the UK's second largest religions. Most British Muslims are young and under 19. Muslims constitute 15% of Greater London's population, totaling 1.3 million people.
Yeah, man. In Ireland, they have just as many 20-year-olds that are Muslim as they do people that are actually born in Ireland that have come in from other countries. It's pretty crazy. So this, of course, is obviously intentional by certain people at the top, not rocket science, and it's purposely to sabotage these Western nations and turn them into something different than they originally were, to destroy their culture, their religion, their peoples, and things of that nature.
Yeah, and by the way, because I play a clip, it doesn't mean that I agree with everything in the clip. It doesn't mean that the sentiment or any sort of pejoratives that are being said. It doesn't mean that I'm in agreement. Look, Muslims can do, look, people are free to have whatever religion that they want, and I don't bias against somebody because they have a different religion. That's fine. That's fine. And I
had people I worked with that worked with me that were Muslim. I had a guy. One of my best sellers was a Muslim. I mean,
so I don't have an issue with that. And I kind of see, although we're not really talking about the same things, and there's a thought process that, the Muslim God is not the same as the Christian God, is not the same as the Jewish God. You can also sort of, with respect to lineage, you could at least say that all three are Abrahamic religions, and at least they're monotheistic. So there are things that are in common that theoretically there would be more things in common, things that you could work towards that would be beneficial in whatever your particular worldview of those three worldviews, in a way that wouldn't be the case for other religions.
You're talking about certain morals and stuff.
Yeah.
Morals.
So I think that there's a lot of
I think they are different gods, though. I don't agree with that, because I think Allah was actually the moon god. It came from, if you look at originally in Mecca, they had multiple gods, and actually Muhammad's parents had the name moon god in their name too, by the way. And they removed all the other gods but the moon god, Allah. And it relates to great is the god Diana. In Acts it says great is God Diana. The moon, the piece of the rock came down from the heaven, and they would say great is Diana of the Ephesians. It's very similar to the statement that the Muslims say, where they say Allah. They say great is Allah, right? It's the exact same phraseology. They also have a rock in the middle of Mecca where they go around it. So I actually think it is originated in pagan, but it got Christian elements in it, though. And he actually worked with Christians and Jews and got some of his ideas from apocryphal literature that are from the Bible. Some of the ideas in Islam are actually from Christian and Jewish sources too. So
yeah, a lot of the practices.
It's a mix of a lot of stuff. It's a mix of a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It is, but a lot of the practices are just Orthodox Christian practices. So for instance, there are some. Yeah, so for instance, bowing to the east and praying 5 times a day, that's Christian.
It's Christian?
Facing,
or is that Jewish?
Huh?
No,
it's Christian.
That sounds like a Jewish thing.
No, it's Christian.
How is that Christian?
I know that there's a thing like the Wailing Wall business and facing the Wailing Wall. I know that's a thing, but Muhammad borrowed most of the stuff that he borrowed from Orthodox Christianity.
Well, he borrowed it from the Apocrypha and pseudepigraphical text too, and maybe some Christian sources, some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just talking these particular practices: facing east, with prayer, and now they're doing it because they're.
I've never heard that. Yeah, I'd have to look into that. I've never heard of that one, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but so for instance, in my house, there's an icon wall. And actually, this direction behind me.
So Orthodox pray east,
facing east.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
So there's there. So anyhow, like I was saying,
I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah. So but those icons there, those are when I face those icons, I'm facing east, right? So in your house, you're supposed to have a certain designated sort of location as a prayer.
That's not
corner.
because you're an Eastern Orthodox church, and it's not like because Rome was in the West, right?
Yeah, so Catholics would go west
because they do the cross the opposite way than you too.
That's right.
Right.
So we go up, down,
So there's
right,
a
left,
bunch of stuff.
and then Catholics go up, down, left, right, and then there is a relationship between that and in which direction that you're
It's
facing.
also languages, like East and West languages. They read backwards. If you're in the East, and like in the West, they read the other way. You've heard it's like a weird, like everything pointing to like this or something. You know, like what's going on?
Another thing is whenever you go to an Orthodox church, when you face the altar, you're facing east.
Huh. Okay.
So the church
I
is
wonder
even
if there's some
designed.
weird thing about Jerusalem or something where everything's facing that direction. You know, I don't know if there's some weird thing going on like that. It's kind of weird.
But anyhow, so facing east in the multiple prayers, the early church called the and this is actually from the monastic tradition. It's called the hours. So in a monastery, there's the hours, and that's at a certain designated time. Multiple times over the course of the day, you stop what you're doing and you pray. So that's actually borrowed from Orthodox Christianity. A lot
Is
of
that
their
like
sort of
pray without ceasing? It's kind of like the pray without ceasing concept or something.
No, the prayer without ceasing would actually, you would literally be praying without ceasing. So the idea there in Paul is he's talking about the Jesus.
Well, you can't
prayer.
literally do that, but I mean, you try to do it throughout the day. Is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
No,
I don't think you can literally pray all the time.
So what I'm saying is you can literally do that. So that's
well,
actually
if you're like driving a car and you're like you can't like multitask to infinitum.
No.
Like,
listen. Well, a
You know what I
prayer.
mean?
Well, a prayer has to do with what you're thinking, what you're speaking. It doesn't have to do with what you're looking at. So you could drive, you could do anything and pray without ceasing. But what Paul is talking about is he's talking about like a prayer as a mantra, like the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. So in a monastery, one of the common practices is to constantly be praying this and thinking this, so that you train yourself so that even when you're not trying to pray, you're actually you have a certain.
No, I agree with the concept. I agree with that because I actually feel like I do that too. Not exactly the same as what you're saying, but I remember in college is when I started really trying to pray more. And then you get to a point where you're like praying regularly and more continuously, but like you don't literally pray nonstop because you can't do it. Like you're going to be distracted doing stuff or whatever, but you can keep it in your mind, in the back of your mind, and you can always bring it forward and you can be praying throughout the day. That's what I'm saying. I think it'd be kind of crazy if you could literally pray all the time, you would have a difficult time focusing on certain stuff too. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to learn something.
Yeah, I don't. So for instance, like, remember I was talking to you about, in our last show about some of these early church saints that they were seeing like levitating, like, and glowing and stuff because they were so, well.
Yeah, but they would have to put themselves in a place to where they didn't have a lot of stuff they had to do. Where like if you're in a monastery,
yeah. Well, I mean, sure, but listen what I'm saying. As these saints were walking around the town, they were seeing levitating, and what they were doing is actually reciting the Jesus prayer.
Oh, you mean the Lord's Prayer?
The Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner.
Oh, okay, that's a different one. Did you know that the Lord's Prayer, the one that Jesus taught, you can actually see it in the first book of Adam and Eve. It's very similar, and perhaps it actually was taught to Adam. And then Jesus just took the Adam prayer and then modified it slightly. Like a lot of people don't even know about that. Like the Adam and Eve might have been given the same prayer that Jesus was given almost. And then Jesus gave us the same prayer that it was given to Adam. We're talking Adam, the beginning Adam, which is kind of crazy, to think about. So because there's so many things that Jesus references from other books that we don't even know exist. Like the book of Akbar, that book talks about a tree being planted and then waiting 7 years for it to grow fruit. like Jesus referenced a lot of books that sayings from books we never even heard of, which is really
Book of
interesting when
Enoch.
you start looking into it. What's that?
Book of Enoch.
Yeah, Book of Enoch. There's a lot of them. Yeah,
It's definitely.
it's just really weird because, like, even Revelation, John, he references from the Sibylline Oracles, and most Christians have never even heard of it. But the early church regularly read the Sibylline Oracles. And the Sibylline Oracles predicted Constantine, predicted a lot of things, predicted Jesus. It was right before Jesus was born. It was like a few hundred years, like BC or something. The Sibylline Oracles were written, and it like predicts Jesus, predicts Constantine, predicts stuff in Revelation. John literally quotes it, and like no one's ever even heard of it. Because a lot of Protestants, they never look into the Apocrypha. And even with the Orthodox and Catholic, they may know some of them, but they don't look into all of them. You go back to the early church and they read books different than even Christians today. And that's why I think it's really interesting to go back to these really ancient books.
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely true that there's a lot of laymen. There's probably a lot of lay Orthodox folks that are not necessarily aware of a lot of that. But
yeah, for sure.
But obviously,
some of the priests probably are familiar with it. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of priests that are familiar with some of that stuff. But I think it's kind of interesting with like you have different Orthodox communities. You even have ones that are outside the Orthodox community, like in Egypt. I forgot what they're called.
Well, you have the Coptic Orthodox. You've got the
Coptic,
Ethiopian Orthodox, and that's
right.
part of the church called the Oriental Orthodox Church, and that church. It's interesting because there was very, very close to an official recommunion or whatever you want to call it, coming back into formal communion, but it's the same. There's you have certain localized practices that may incorporate, for instance, like hand drums or something like that in the service, but you're talking about something that is virtually identical. Something that I thought was interesting. The other day I was picking up some medication at the drugstore, and this woman, probably 30-something woman, had a cross on. It was an Orthodox cross. I could tell it was an Orthodox cross, but I could also tell that it was like a Ethiopian Orthodox cross, right? So I asked her if she Orthodox, and then she said yes, and I said, oh yeah, I'm Eastern Orthodox, and then I said, you're Ethiopian Orthodox, and she says yeah. Now she looks Ethiopian, so that was part of that was just a guess, but you can also kind of tell from the shape of that particular cross. So some of that kind of stuff, some of the symbolism,
I think that's a really
iconography will be a little bit different, but it's the same. Yeah.
No, I find the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's canon fascinating, and I find also some of these ancient theological ideas in the early church to be really fascinating. Like Alexandria. You had Clement of Alexandria, and they had very different viewpoints on the afterlife. So I like to explore all these different viewpoints. I'm actually going to do a video soon here talking about some of that. You had like annihilationism, you had universal restorationism, you have eternal torment, which is the common Protestant and Catholic dogma. But you have like that. It was actually a minority opinion. Like St. Augustine even admitted in his time that his opinion on the afterlife was a minority opinion. Meaning, what is the majority opinion about the afterlife today was a minority opinion in his time. That most people didn't believe in eternal torment back in his time. And then you had like,
I think it's what what C.S. Lewis says.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too. Yeah, where you like go farther away and it's harder to get back.
So his thing is,
you mean like there's a city, and the farther you go into darkness, the harder it is to get back, or something.
Well, I think his view was the part that I'm talking about is so it's eternal separation from God, right? So and that in itself would be a kind of hell. It wouldn't
Well,
be
okay, you're talking
a
about that
literal hell.
aspect. Okay.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
be
he was.
it
Yeah.
wouldn't be like a literal hell, like fire and brimstone. It would be a, so if you can imagine nothing greater than yourself existing, and then therefore nothing to work towards, nothing to look towards, no true north, no navigation system.
Well, you got God removed. So you have love removed. You have all the good qualities of life removed. All you have left is fear, pain, sorrow. You got hell. I mean, if you don't have love, patience, joy, peace, and you got none of that, and you're by yourself in your own fear and your own paranoia or whatever, that's going to be hell, right? But I'm thinking also.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking I think it's like a prison, like a modern, like when you look at a prison today, you have death row, you got people that get out of prison. I think it's like that in the afterlife, because I think that there's a final annihilationism. The lake of fire, I think, is where everything's annihilated, but you got a chance in the afterlife. So like you land in Hades or Sheol. If you repent in Hades or Sheol, you can get out, I think. But the problem is some people can't, because they're on death row, because they were so evil in this life. They get in the afterlife, they're stuck in another place. They're like a freaking death row. They can't get out, period.
Yeah,
but there's some people. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. It's kind of like a mix of all of them, because there's like the Clement of Alexandria thought that everyone gets saved somehow. That was like Origen's viewpoint. Then you have the other ones that are like, well, no, actually you're just annihilated in the afterlife. And then there were some that believed that you could get saved in the afterlife. Some believed you couldn't get saved in the afterlife. Some said some could get saved in the afterlife. Some said some could not. It just depended on who you talk to with the early church. But I kind of feel like it's a prison. So like some are on death row, like the worst ones, and some can get out if they repent and get right with God, but they have to go through hell, burning off their impurities, because God's going to test you. And in the afterlife, it's probably not as fun, to get tested. So I don't know how it is there, but probably sucks.
Yeah. So
you're in hell.
The Catholics have this idea of purgatory. And
it's
you can
similar kind of concept, not the same though, but yeah.
Right. So you can pray for the souls of people that are in purgatory, that they'll,
right.
But they were, those in purgatory didn't die with they didn't, it wasn't like a mortal sin that they were dealing with. It could be a venial sin or something.
So that's kind of like the Shepherd of Hermas. That's kind of how he talks, is like, Shepherd of Hermas was a disciple of one of the disciples, if I remember correctly. He was basically like, if you were a believer in this life and fell away, you could get saved in the afterlife. But if you weren't, then you couldn't. I think that was his opinion, if I remember. But there's a lot of different opinions. If you go through all the early church, I did a article on it. A lot of different opinions. But my opinion ended up being just, it's like a prison. If you were really, really bad, you're like freaking, Stalin or something, I don't know, somebody pretty freaking bad, you're probably not going to get out. You're probably going to end up in death row. But if you were, you didn't hear the gospel, let's say you're in Japan, because very few of them hear the gospel, I think they'll all have a chance in the afterlife to hear the gospel. Because if you didn't have a chance to hear it in this life, I think you'll have a chance to hear it in the next life.
I mean, I mean, this is New Testament, God's not going to hold you accountable for something.
Right.
You're only held accountable for what you know. So if you didn't,
I don't think like people that are normal, not killing people, not crazy, are going to just be stuck in hell forever, like some Protestants think. I think that God, you have a chance to repent in the afterlife. But I mean, if you're like a serial killer, you're probably not going to end up in a good place. You're probably going to end up like in the lower levels, or where you can't get out or something. I don't know. It just depends. I don't know. I'm not God. So
my view tends to be, and I'm aware of some different sort of views on this, different opinions. My view is, better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, better be safe than sorry. Exactly.
My assumption,
that was a theory of theirs too, is that you don't want to give them this weird feeling like they can just get saved in the afterlife no matter what, because what if you can't, is some of the arguments. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, so they had that argument.
Right. So my assumption is that you can't get saved in the afterlife, and you better take care of it on this side. And you better live right, and don't think that just because you agree with a particular set of proclamations or whatever, that means that you're saved. No.
Well,
no.
salvation is not just believing a set of facts, because the devil believes that Jesus died on a cross. The devil believes Jesus died on a cross. He's not going to heaven, right? So
that's right.
It's not believing a set of facts. It's faith means faithfulness. It's fidelity. It's like you're loyal to your wife. You're faithful to your wife. You are the wife of Christ. You're the bride of Christ. And the word faith means fidelity or faithfulness or commitment. It doesn't mean just believe. I believe Jesus, but I can do whatever I want now. I can live like the devil and still get to heaven. No, that's not true. I don't agree with that.
That's right. And maybe I'll have to spend a few hours in purgatory, but I'll be all right.
All right. I'll put in a good word for you, man.
Right. Goodness.
I'll put in a good word. Hey, you got to get him out of there, man.
All righty.
I just messed with you, dude.
All right. We had a good show today. Thanks for being here, everybody. And we will see you next. Well, see what is next week. Yeah, we'll probably see you. We'll see you next week. See you next week. Peace.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right now.